11. Easterlings. Tenka and G stood on opposite sides of a large circle drawn in the dirt. Inside the circle, two girls faced each other, taking small steps from side to side, hunting for the opportune moment. The girl on Tenka's right, Danelle, had moonless hair, blacker than black, and eyes to match. She was tall for her 8 years and the more patient of the two girls. The girl on Tenka's left, Tinglin, stood half a head shorter, her brown hair streaked with blonde in the sunlight. The girl was desperate to prove herself. That desperation had helped Tinglin in the early years, but often of late it was her undoing. "Remember what I said," Tenka called, loud enough for both girls to hear, but directing her words at the light-haired girl. Tinglin nodded. Resist the urge to go in for the first strike. The key to becoming a great warrior lay in the ability to do the opposite of one's instincts. When a warrior could be comfortable with the uncomfortable, they became truly dangerous. Tenka saw Tinglin wrestle with herself, wanting to strike but holding back. A storm of emotion played over her face, eyes darting, face red, breath shallow. Danelle, sensing the internal struggle in her opponent, faked a move to one side. Not much more than a spasm, but enough. Tinglin exploded, all her energy focused on the direction Danelle had faked toward. In 3 moves, Danelle pinned Tinglin to the ground. Tenka refrained from shaking her head. As a young girl, Tenka had been much the same as the fiery, light-haired girl on the ground. She tried to keep that in mind when training this one. "That is enough for now," Tenka said. "Repeat for me the weapons we use to win fights." Tinglin scrambled up and the two girls yelled in unison. Distraction, surprise, confusion, pain. "Remember them?" Tenka said, touching her finger to her temple. "They are your allies as much as your fellow hunters." She studied the two girls a moment, then nodded. "Finished for now." The girls nodded and faced one another. They each stretched out a right hand, resting it on the left shoulder of their opponent. They acknowledged their teachers in the same way, then ran off toward the river. G said, "Come, old one, we should help pick berries for dinner." Tenka raised an eyebrow. "Old one, is it? Perhaps you and I should take a turn in the circle." G clucked her tongue. "I would feel bad giving an elder woman a beating. You have so many bruises already." "Ah, is that so? Maybe we should find out at first moon gathering with many witnesses." "Your funeral, old woman." Tenka followed G toward the river, thinking about the match between the two girls. Good hunters and warriors take time, she thought. But how much time do we have? She remembered all the people they had lost to sickness and arrows. Loss had become a constant companion. The sound of a horn blast reverberated through the valley. Tenka looked up, above the tiers of homes built up the sloping side of the canyon, up to the very top of the craggy cliff wall. She waited for a second blast of the horn, unable to spot the hornblower from where she stood. A second horn blast sounded, once for alert, twice for danger. "Gather the young fighters," Tenka yelled, then turned and ran. Up the ramps of the village, climbing from one tier to the next, then up above the village along the single-file road. As she closed in on the secondary lookout, she saw dust clouds rising where riders approached, like signals along a trail. Tenka remembered her mate's words about the Kote warriors who had come before and would come again soon. Most likely them. All the same, better to be prepared. Most of the tribe were gathering at the center of the village. Tenka watched as her mate, Dominach, sprinted halfway up another path and turned to face the village. He called down, "Our man of war lays sick and dying. The fighting men older than I are away on trade hunt. Does anyone contest my responsibility to protect?" "None," they called back. "Lookouts," he called out. "What have we seen?" Tenka cupped her hands around her mouth and yelled back, "There is a pack on the march. Riders coming quickly. Maybe the returning Kote. Maybe danger." "Hunters and protectors," Dominoch yelled. "With me, young hunters, young protectors, take the children and old ones up to the single foot." He pointed up to the high path above the village. "Get to the cave if you can. Do not return without my signal." Nearly 100 people swarmed in different directions. The older girls and boys shouted orders, herded children, and helped the frail elders, while the fighting men and women ran out to meet the intruders. Tenka ran with her fellow hunters behind the men, out past the edge of the village. On a hunt, they made their own decisions, hunted when and where they would, raided how they liked. But when it came to protecting the people of the village, the man of war and the men of fighting age led and decided. They slowed near the mouth of the canyon, with the cliff wall to their right and the river to their left. Tenka heard her mate yell, "If it is the Kote, be cordial. We do not want them for enemies." Tenka swept her gaze across the wide, barren plain, watching the dust clouds grow. She turned her attention to the cliff wall, to the highest lookout. She could just see Fityara standing on the rocky outcropping, shading his eyes, watching. She thought she saw him bring horn to lips. A second later, the sound of the horn blast hit Tenka's ears. Brrrr! A single call of the horn would confirm they were friendly. The Kote returned to entreat with them. A second call would mean enemies and war. She waited for a second call, and it came. Brrrr! "Prepare yourselves," Dominoch shouted. Next to her, G said, Fityara raised 3 pairs of hands. 30 warriors, Tenka thought, probably from another sand-dwelling tribe. She readied her spear. "Hairy devils," one of the men shouted. Tenka saw the other men nodding. Easterlings? She wondered if they could be from the settlement where she killed the Easterling man. Revenge for their fallen brother? Tenka made a clucking noise with her tongue several times to her left, then again to her right. The women pulled out their atlatls and slung their spears. Leave it to those hairy devils to attack under high sun. The Easterlings rode atop Tukbi. With their hard-plated bodies, the beasts were near unstoppable. Best to go for the tiny heads or thin legs. They were also slow, easily spooked, stubborn, and hard to control in a fight, which is why Tenka knew the Tukbi would play little part in this battle. Still a ways off, the attackers dismounted and tethered their animals to sand anchors. The group of Easterling men walked toward the canyon mouth, cautious and alert. "Wait for my signal," Och called. One of the Mincaran men, the only one to carry a spear with him as well as a bow slung over his shoulder, said something to the others and they stopped. The spear carrier proceeded alone, well within range of the Razi spears. He paused and slowly set down his weapons. Some of the women around Tenka stirred. "Hold," she breathed. With weapons left on the ground, the man came forward a few more paces, hands open and out to his sides. "I wish speak you," he said in broken and accented Rasi. Tenka watched as her mate walked forward from their group to meet the man, her hand clenched tight to her spear. "You may speak," Och said. 3 days man killed, the Mincaran said. "Track killers here." Och nodded. "You come for revenge." "No," the man said. "Come peace." Tenka held back a laugh. Some around her snickered or spat on the ground. "Dead man much?" He paused, searching for the word in their language. "Rash," Och said. The man nodded. "Rash," he repeated. He gestured to the men around him. "Men want war. I leader. Enough war. Live peace." "If you want peace," G yelled, "leave our lands and go back across the mountains and see to where you came from." Some of her tribe shouted in agreement. Tenka winced. It was true, but unhelpful. The man stood silent, perhaps weighing his next words. After a long pause, he said, "I born here, same you. Enough for all. Put away old time, live peace." Tenka's heart beat fast in her chest. She imagined the battle in her mind. She saw a spear penetrate the man's chest. The impact would throw his body back several paces before he fell, the spear pinning him in place until Och or another man ripped it out as they ran past, leading the warriors in a frenzied stampede. The Easterlings, suspicious of this whole undertaking, would be quick to respond. The arrows would fly even as the spears did, crossing paths in the sky. Without any cover to protect them, Och and Tenka and their brother protectors and sister hunters would fall dead by the dozens. We would win, she thought, but it would be a poor victory. When they recounted the tale later to the men back from trade hunt and to the women returned from hunting and raiding, there would be little glory in the tale. The more expert among them would think Och a fool for having attacked in such a disadvantaged and easily avoided fight. Tenka knew her mate, even more careful and less eager for war than she, would consider these things as well. She saw him nod to the man. "We agree," Och said. "Keep your people from attacking us, and we will not attack you and yours."